Ladies and gentlemen, today we gather with one shared vision, the dream of creating a world of justice. A world where fairness is not a privilege for the few, but a right for all. A world where every voice is heard, every life is valued, and every person has equal opportunity to thrive. Justice is not simply the absence of injustice, it is the active pursuit of equity. It demands that we look beyond comfort zones, beyond borders, beyond silence. True justice asks us to see the humanity in others, to stand against discrimination, and to challenge the systems that perpetuate inequality. We must remember, justice is not a destination. It is a daily commitment. It is seen in the teacher who advocates for all students, the leader who listens with humility, and the citizen who speaks truth to power. Creating a world of justice begins with us in our homes, our workplaces, our communities. It means recognizing that peace without justice is fragile, and progress without fairness is incomplete. Let us raise our voices, not in anger, but in unity. Let us build bridges, not walls. Let us replace apathy with action. Because justice is not an abstract idea. It is a living force, one we shape through empathy, courage, and love. Justice is not a privilege reserved for a select few. It is a birthright, a principle that belongs to every human being, regardless of race, religion, gender, nationality, socioeconomic status, or background. The idea of justice is rooted in the fundamental belief that every person deserves to live with dignity, to be treated with fairness, and to have access to opportunities that allow them to grow, thrive, and participate fully in society. Yet, across the world, millions are denied this basic right. They face systems that are stacked against them, systems built on histories of oppression, exclusion, and silence. From discriminatory laws and corrupt institutions to economic disparities and social prejudice, injustice takes many forms. It silences the unheard, weakens the marginalized, and fuels cycles of poverty, violence, and hopelessness. To recognize justice as a universal right is to acknowledge that the fight for fairness is not just the responsibility of those who suffer from injustice. It is a shared responsibility. It calls on each of us, those with privilege, those in power, and those with a platform, to stand up, speak out, and act. We cannot claim to be just societies if justice is only afforded to some while others are left behind. Universal justice means that a child born in poverty has the same right to quality education as one born into wealth. It means that no one should be judged or treated unfairly because of the color of their skin, the language they speak, or the place they call home. It means that laws must protect the vulnerable, not just the powerful. And it means that human rights are not theoretical ideals, but lived realities for every person on this planet. When we affirm justice as a universal right, we redefine what it means to live in a truly fair and humane world. We declare that equality is not optional, that fairness is not a luxury, and that dignity should never be determined by borders, beliefs, or bank accounts. This vision of justice must be our foundation, not only in courts and governments, but in our classrooms, workplaces, neighborhoods, and homes. Justice does not come into existence simply because we desire it. It is not enough to hold good intentions, to post inspiring quotes, or to express outrage when it is convenient. True justice demands deliberate, consistent, and courageous action. It requires us to step out of our comfort zones and take real steps toward dismantling the structures and attitudes that uphold inequality. Intentions are important, they reveal our values and signal our awareness. But without action, they are powerless. We cannot build a better world with words alone. It is easy to say we stand for justice, but far more difficult to live that stance in our daily decisions. especially when it challenges our own comfort, privilege, or security. Real justice work is uncomfortable. It asks us to examine ourselves, to confront our biases, and to unlearn deeply embedded assumptions. Action for justice means doing more than just recognizing problems. It means being part of the solution. This includes educating ourselves about systemic oppression, standing in solidarity with those who are marginalized, and holding institutions accountable. It means voting not just for personal gain, but for the collective good. It means speaking up in rooms where silence protects the status quo and challenging policies, practices, and people that perpetuate harm even when it's unpopular. Justice must also be built into the systems that govern our lives. It is not just about personal choices, but institutional transformation. We must work to change laws that criminalize poverty, reform legal systems that disproportionately punish the powerless, and ensure that access to health care, education, housing, and employment is fair and inclusive. This kind of change is slow, often met with resistance, and rarely linear, but it is essential. Moreover, action for justice should not be reactive, something we do only in moments of crisis or after tragedy strikes. It must be proactive and sustained. It is the daily work of creating environments where equity is not the exception but the norm. From boardrooms to classrooms, from the streets to the halls of power, justice must be pursued intentionally and persistently. In a world where injustice is often systemic and deeply rooted, passive concern is not enough. Justice will not thrive in a society content with symbolic gestures and superficial change. It requires us to engage fully, fiercely, and fearlessly in the ongoing struggle to make the world fairer, safer, and more humane for all. While we often think of justice as something shaped by courts, governments, or large institutions, its roots run much deeper and closer to home. Justice begins with the individual in our hearts, our minds, and our everyday interactions. Before policies can change and institutions can be reformed, people must first transform how they see one another and how they choose to act in their daily lives. Personal justice is about the decisions we make when no one is watching. It's reflected in how we treat the people around us, the way we speak to a coworker, how we listen to someone's story without judgment, how we choose to stand up for someone who is being treated unfairly even when it's inconvenient. It's in the respect we show to those who are different from us, the fairness we practice when conflict arises, and the empathy we bring into our relationships. Every act of kindness, fairness, and integrity contributes to the broader fabric of justice in society. When we model compassion and equality in our homes, with our families, in our friendships, and in our communities, we are building the foundations for a more just world. Justice is not only a courtroom decision, it is choosing not to laugh at a racist joke. It is refusing to tolerate exclusionary behavior. It is teaching our children to value every human being equally. Furthermore, justice at the personal level means being willing to confront the uncomfortable truths within ourselves. It means asking hard questions. What biases do I carry? How do my choices impact others? Am I benefiting from systems that harm others? And if so, what am I doing about it? This kind of self-reflection requires humility and courage, but it is absolutely essential. We cannot demand justice from the world if we are unwilling to live it in our own lives. Justice also means using our personal influence, no matter how small, for the greater good. Whether you are a teacher shaping young minds, a business leader creating equitable opportunities, a student using your voice on campus, or a neighbor working to build understanding in your community, your choices matter. Change often starts with one person deciding that silence is no longer acceptable, that kindness is powerful, and that doing what's right is more important than doing what's easy. The personal is political, and the personal is powerful. When justice is lived at the individual level, it becomes contagious. It spreads from one person to another, from home to community, from local action to global impact. The ripple effects of our choices, the small, consistent acts of fairness, create a current that can reshape society in profound ways. At the heart of true justice lies the principle of equity, the understanding that fairness does not always mean treating everyone exactly the same, but rather ensuring that everyone gets what they need to live with dignity, opportunity, and safety. While equality gives everyone the same resources, equity recognizes that people start from different places due to historic disadvantages, social structures, and systemic barriers, and that justice must take those differences into account. Too often, societies operate under the illusion that fairness is achieved simply by offering equal treatment. But justice is not about offering the same ladder to everyone when some are standing on the ground and others are already halfway up. Equity means recognizing those gaps and working intentionally to close them. It acknowledges that marginalized communities due to centuries of colonization, racism, sexism, ableism, and economic injustice have been denied access to opportunities, and that restorative measures are not just helpful but necessary. Justice rooted in equity challenges us to see beyond surface-level solutions. It pushes us to dig deep into the structural causes of disparity in education, healthcare, housing, employment, and the legal system. Why do some children attend underfunded schools while others enjoy state-of-the-art facilities? Why do certain communities face higher incarceration rates, limited job prospects, or restricted access to clean water? These are not accidents of geography or culture. They are the outcomes of policy decisions, resource allocation, and cultural attitudes that have favored some while neglecting others. To create a world of justice, we must be willing to move from a mindset of equal distribution to one of equitable transformation. That means uplifting the voices and leadership of those most affected by injustice. It means allocating resources not according to convenience or tradition, but based on need. It means supporting policies that actively correct imbalances rather than maintain a false sense of neutrality. Equity also applies in how we design institutions. Schools must address the learning needs of students who face language barriers or trauma. Workplaces must ensure fair wages and access to advancement for people from all backgrounds. Healthcare systems must serve not just those with insurance or privilege, but also those in underserved or historically neglected communities. Laws must protect all people, not just those with power and access. This kind of justice is not about special treatment, it's about just treatment. It's about leveling the playing field so that everyone has a real chance at a life of purpose, safety, and possibility. Equity requires intentionality, awareness, and the courage to disrupt long-standing patterns of inequality. It asks us to view justice not as a one-size-fits-all solution, but as a nuanced, human-centered approach that honors each individual's context and needs. In the face of injustice, silence is not neutral. It is a position, a passive acceptance of the status quo. When we choose not to speak out against inequality, discrimination, or abuse, we are indirectly allowing those systems and behaviors to continue unchallenged. Silence becomes complicity, not because we intend to support injustice, but because our lack of response allows it to persist, grow, and normalize itself within society. Many people remain silent not out of malice, but out of fear, uncertainty, or discomfort. They may worry about saying the wrong thing, losing relationships, or facing backlash. But justice does not thrive in comfort, it grows in the discomfort of truth, telling, of standing up, and of taking moral risks. Remaining silent when we witness harm, racism, bigotry, or oppression, whether in our workplaces, communities, schools, or even our own families, creates a protective shield around injustice. It tells the world that the harm being done is tolerable or not worth addressing. History is full of examples where silence allowed oppression to endure. Segregation laws were maintained because many who knew they were wrong chose to stay quiet. Genocides have unfolded while the global community looked the other way. Discriminatory systems have continued unchecked because those with the privilege to speak out remained silent in favor of stability or self-preservation. But it's not only about massive injustices. Silence in everyday life can also be destructive. When someone makes a sexist remark and we say nothing, we allow sexism to flourish. When a colleague is overlooked because of their race, and we don't raise our voice, we silently reinforce racial bias. When marginalized groups cry out for support and are met with apathy or polite indifference, they are left to fight alone. Silence can also signal agreement to those who inflict harm. It reassures oppressors that their actions are safe from scrutiny. But when we speak up, even in small ways, we disrupt that narrative. We let others know that wrong is wrong, regardless of how normalized or widespread it may be. Speaking out not only challenges injustice, but also empowers others to do the same. It breaks the cycle of isolation that often traps the oppressed and builds a sense of collective resistance and shared humanity. Choosing to speak out does not always mean delivering speeches or leading protests, though those are powerful forms of action. It can mean asking questions that challenge prejudice, supporting those who are marginalized, refusing to laugh at dehumanizing jokes, or using your platform, however small, to educate, advocate, and amplify voices that often go unheard. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision that something else, in this case, justice, matters more. When we trade silence for action, even in simple conversations or daily decisions, we begin to erode the structures that uphold inequality. Injustice feeds on silence, but it begins to wither in the presence of truth and accountability. A just world cannot be built on division. It requires unity, not uniformity, but a deep, respectful coming together of diverse individuals, communities, and perspectives in the pursuit of fairness, dignity, and shared humanity. True justice thrives where people are willing to stand together, listen across differences, and act in solidarity toward a common goal. It is unity, not separation, that gives justice its strength and sustainability. Division has long been used as a tool to maintain power and perpetuate injustice. Throughout history, those in control have fostered distrust between communities, drawing artificial lines between races, classes, religions, genders, and nations. They have encouraged people to see each other as competitors instead of collaborators. This kind of fragmentation weakens collective power and turns attention away from the systems that cause harm. When we are divided, we are distracted. And when we are distracted, injustice prevails unchecked. Unity does not mean that we ignore our differences or pretend they don't matter. On the contrary, it means recognizing and honoring those differences while still affirming our shared commitment to justice. It means building coalitions across lines of race, religion, language, gender identity, disability, and nationality. It means understanding that the struggles of one group are deeply connected to the struggles of another, and that liberation is collective. We cannot have justice for some and expect peace for all. Injustice anywhere truly is a threat to justice everywhere. In a world saturated with polarization and fueled by fear-based narratives, choosing unity is a radical act. It means resisting the temptation to dehumanize those who think differently. It means seeking to understand rather than simply to win. It means holding space for disagreement without letting it become division. Justice requires strong relationships, open dialogue, and the willingness to build bridges even when the terrain is difficult. Unity also means leveraging privilege to uplift others, not to protect ourselves. It means using our voices and platforms to advocate for those who are silenced or ignored. It means standing side by side, shoulder to shoulder, with those whose experiences differ from our own, not out of pity, but out of deep respect and a shared belief in the value of every human being. We must understand that our destinies are tied together. The economic, environmental, social, and political challenges of our time do not respect the boundaries we try to build between people. They demand coordinated, compassionate, and united responses. Whether we are fighting for racial equity, climate justice, gender equality, or the rights of refugees, we are ultimately fighting for the same core truth, that all people deserve to live in freedom, safety, and dignity. Justice is not a one-time event, a trending topic, or a seasonal cause. It is a lifelong commitment, a continuous journey that requires perseverance, adaptability, and unwavering moral resolve. To truly create a world of justice, we must understand that the work is never finished. It does not end with a single march, a single vote, a single reform, or a single act of protest. Justice must be pursued daily, woven into the fabric of our decisions, our priorities, and our values. The path toward justice is long and at times discouraging. There will be moments when progress feels invisible, when systems resist change, when hard-earned victories are rolled back, and when speaking out comes at a personal cost. But justice demands that we keep going. It asks us to show up even when it's hard, even when the world isn't watching, and especially when others have grown tired. It requires the kind of commitment that doesn't waver when the headlines fade or when the momentum slows. A lifelong commitment to justice means recognizing that every generation has its own battles to fight, and its own responsibility to carry forward the legacy of those who came before. We stand on the shoulders of individuals and movements who, for decades and even centuries, have struggled for civil rights, for labor rights, for gender equality, for freedom from colonial rule, for environmental preservation, and more. Their work laid the foundation, but our work continues the construction. Justice is not static. It evolves with society, and we must evolve with it. It also means constantly learning and growing. Justice requires humility, the ability to listen deeply, to admit when we're wrong, and to seek out perspectives different from our own. No one has all the answers. A just life is one in which we are open to challenge, willing to be held accountable, and committed to learning from both history and lived experience. It means examining our own behaviors, recognizing our privileges, and staying informed about the issues affecting our communities and the world. Moreover, a lifelong commitment to justice is not only about fighting against harm, it is also about building equitable systems, nurturing inclusive communities, and cultivating a culture where compassion, fairness, and human dignity are foundational. It's about creating environments, whether in schools, workplaces, neighborhoods, or governments, where justice is not reactive, but proactive, where it is not just an emergency response, but a way of life. It's also important to understand that this commitment looks different for each person. Not everyone will lead marches or write legislation, but everyone can play a role as educators, mentors, artists, parents, business owners, advocates, voters, and allies. The point is not to be perfect, but to be persistent. Every effort matters, every action counts, and every voice can contribute to the greater chorus demanding fairness and equality. Justice, then, is a practice, a discipline of the heart and mind. It is a promise we renew each day through the choices we make, the truths we speak, and the people we choose to stand with. And in choosing to commit to it for life, we become part of a movement that spans generations, a powerful, unyielding force of change that shapes the present and redefines the future. Let us remember that justice is not a gift we wait, for it is a responsibility we carry. It lives in the choices we make, in the courage we show, and in the hope we refuse to surrender. A just world will not build itself. It will be built by people like us, people who choose to care, who choose to act, who choose to believe that fairness, dignity, and equality are not distant dreams, but achievable realities. So let us walk forward together with open minds, strong voices, and unwavering hearts. Let us challenge what is broken, protect what is sacred, and build what is missing. For in the end, justice is not just about laws or policies, it is about people. It is about all of us. And it is only when we rise together, united by purpose and powered by compassion, that we can truly create a world where justice is not the exception but the norm.